The Jack Benny Program.
Go right ahead, Mr. Smith. Read that first speech. Don't be nervous.
Yes.
Don't be nervous.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the entertainment capital of the world, we bring you the star of our show, Jack Benny. You want me to go on?
No. That's just fine. And thanks very, very much. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Freddie, who's next? Huh?
Jack, you're holding up rehearsal. Now, how many more announcers are you going to audition?
I'm going to audition as many announcers as it takes to find a replacement for Don Wilson. That's how many.
Well, don't holler at me. You're the one that fired Don. I didn't.
You're darn right I fired him. He's going to find out he's not the only big fat slob in the world. Now, who else is on?
Big deal. 3 hours trying to find an announcer. What do you need an announcer for?
Dennis, when I'm standing in the entrance waiting to come in, I got to have somebody introduce me. I got to have somebody tell the audience that Jack Benny is coming on.
Yeah, I guess it's only fair to warn them.
Here, please, just stand on that mark.
Right here?
Yeah, that's right. You've got the script. You start at the first speech, that introduction.
Wait a minute. Freddie,
Yeah.
is he supposed to be a replacement for Don Wilson?
Yeah. Yeah. Would you go on, please?
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the entertainment capital of the world, we bring you the star of our...
Wait a minute, hold it.
What's the matter now?
Hold it, just a second. Evidently, they didn't tell you any of the requirements that were needed. You see, I want a fella that's like Don Wilson, kind of stout, you know, fat, and with several chins.
Oh, well,
You
that's
see?
all you want, Mr. Benny. I can get fat. Not on what he's going to pay you.
You stay out. Well, anyway, I believe you know what I mean, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Look, why do you bring me a guy like that? You know I want a fella that looks like Don Wilson. You know, a guy that, instead of that, you bring me a man who looks like a microphone. Heaven's sakes. Now, who else have we got?
Oh, there's one more out there. Bob, would you bring in Mr. Scott, please? Scott?
Oh, how do you do, Mr. Scott? Well, now we're in business. Now you're talking. I can't understand you. Here you're making me audition a lot of people that don't fit, and you got one standing out in the hall right away. He'll be fine. All right, now, Mr. Scott, we'll be ready for rehearsal in a minute. Just read that first speech. You know.
And now, from the entertainment capital of the world, we bring you the star of our show, Jack Benny.
Is that your natural voice?
No, it isn't.
Well, why do you talk so high?
Because when I talk down here, I
Oh, I see. All right, who we got next, Freddie?
Don Wilson, and I suggest you call him.
I'm not going to call Don Wilson, and that settles it. I'm not going to have Wilson.
Well, there are a couple other fellas waiting out there. They'll be in later, though. Why don't we go on with rehearsal in the meanwhile?
All right, let's start rehearsal without it. But I'm not going to have Don Wilson, and you know it. No, I'm going to get a drink of water.
Okay.
Boy, I haven't seen him this mad since the Academy Awards.
Which one?
All of them.
I can't understand Jack, after all these years, getting so mad at Don Wilson. What happened?
You remember that party he gave at his house last week for the members of the cast and crew?
Yeah, I couldn't make it.
Yeah, I know it, but everybody else showed up, and that's where it happened. After dinner, we were all sitting in the living room. Sammy the drummer was playing that crazy instrument of his.
for an encore.
Hey, wait a minute. We don't want any encores. No encores. And Sammy, you've got a lot of nerve taking one of my best dishes and putting it up here on the piano for an ashtray.
That ain't an ashtray. That's for the tips.
Well, you're not going to get any, so put this pogo stick away and sit down. Hey, Rochester, bring in some more drinks for everybody.
Oh, here they come.
Oh, good. Serve everybody. How's everything going back there? All right? You having fun?
Mr. Dale?
Well, have fun.
Mr. D?
Thank you, Roch.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Rochester.
Nothing for me, Rog. Nothing for me.
Mr. Remley?
Rochester, when are you going to learn to serve Remley lads?
I keep forgetting.
We have food left over, haven't we? So you don't have to throw it away. So you can make hash out of the leftover roast beef. And you can make turkey a la king out of the leftover turkey. Now, what can we do with the leftover spaghetti?
I could put a handle on it and use it for a mop.
No.
Then again, I could knit you a sweater.
Look.
We could use the meatballs for buttons.
Oh, Rochester.
Oh, quiet. Quiet, quiet, everybody. Quiet, please. Well, we've all had such a good time tonight, and I think I can speak for every one of us here that I just think it's wonderful of Jack to have his whole gang over here every year for this annual get-together. I think he's the greatest boss in the world.
How about a speech, Mr. Benny?
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Fourth score in 7 years.
You said I'll make it.
Bet it'll never be as good as the one I started.
Yes, sir. Now, seriously, friends, and it gives me a warm feeling to call you all friends, because there aren't many men who have such sincere, loyal, and talented employees. And I think it's only fitting that once a year we can gather like this in mutual friendship and respect.
Here, 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 here.
You know, when a show has been on...
Here, here.
You know, when a show has been on as long as ours, the going isn't always easy. You know, sure, we're sailing along now and the seas are calm. But in the past, as we moved across the ocean of entertainment, we've had our stormy days. But we didn't despair, did we? No. But in the battle against those stormy waters, and I, as your captain, was inspired by those immortal words of John Paul Jones when he said, "Don't give up the ship." And friends,
Jack.
in the years ahead,
Jack.
and friends, in the years ahead,
Jack.
What is it?
Well, Jack, I don't like to interrupt, but John Paul Jones didn't say don't give up the ship.
What?
It was said by Captain James Lawrence.
No, Don. It was John Paul Jones who said don't.
Look, Jack, any schoolboy knows James Lawrence said don't give up the ship. Now, how can you stand there and say it was John Paul Jones?
Because it was John Paul.
No, it wasn't.
Now, wait a minute, Don. That's a famous naval saying. Dennis, you were a sailor. What was that famous naval saying?
Ask her if she's got a friend for me.
I don't mean that one. Don, it was John Paul Jones who said, don't give up the ship. I was in the Navy myself, for heaven's sake. I was a hero.
Oh, some hero. You joined the Navy, fell out of your hammock, and when you came to, the war was over.
Well, those hammocks are tough to sleep in. Anyway, Don Wilson, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Coming over here to my house, stuffing yourself with my food. I've been watching you. And then accepting my hospitality, and then starting a great big argument.
I didn't start the argument. You did. Everybody knows it was James Lawrence who said don't give up the ship. And frankly, I'm just ashamed to work for anyone that doesn't know any more about American history.
Oh. Well, Don, you don't have to be ashamed any longer because you're fired.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
You are fired.
Here, here.
Right.
Does Jack really think that John Paul Jones said don't give up the ship?
It's hard to believe they named a high school after him.
Personally, I think it's ridiculous that Jack... Come on.
All right, fellas. Might as well...
To get my things out of my dressing room.
Well, the quicker the better.
Well, Mr. Benny, while we're waiting, why can't I rehearse my song?
Well, that is a good idea. Go ahead, Dennis. Rehearse your song.
Okay, Malin.
First the tide rushes in, plants a kiss on the shore, then rolls out to sea, and the sea is very still once more. Oh, I love like the oncoming tide, with one burning drop, will your arms open wide. At last we're face to face, and as we kiss through an embrace, I can feel you are love, you are the tide at its ebb, I'm at peace.
That song was wonderful, but I think it's a little too long.
So do I. Toward the finish, I was getting hungry.
I just came back to get my refrigerator, and that's all I Oh, what do you want here?
Jack, you come here. Come on. Now, Jack, you and Don have been friends for 28 years, and regardless of who was right and who was wrong in this argument, I think you should forget the whole thing and make up.
I think Freddie's right. Why didn't you tell him you're sorry?
You tell Mr. Wilson if he wants to apologize, maybe I'll be willing to accept it.
Mr. Wilson, Mr. Benny says if you want to apologize and say you're wrong, he might be willing to accept it.
Well, you can tell Mr. Benny that if he knew anything about American history, he'd know James Lawrence said, don't give up the ship.
Mr. Benny, Mr. Wilson said if you knew anything about American history, you'd know that James Lawrence said don't give up the ship.
And you can also tell him if he doesn't apologize, I'm going to punch him right in the nose.
Mr. Wilson says if you don't apologize, I'm going to punch you right in the nose.
You're gonna punch me in the nose.
I'll give you 3 to take your glasses off. Come on. Dennis,
Stop it. You're not even in the argument.
Now, Dennis, stop it.
Now, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. You know, it doesn't matter whether it was John Paul Jones or Captain James Lawrence or even what was said. What does matter is that you two have been friends for years. And, Jack, I think you should apologize to Don for firing him over such a little thing. Now, come on. Go ahead.
Well, all right. Don, I'm sorry I fired you.
Thank you. And, Jack, I just want to say that only a man of your generosity, of your great sense of fair play, would be big enough to admit when he's made a mistake. I accept your apology, Jack, and I'll come back to work for you.
Oh, I'm so glad, Don. Well, thank heaven that's over. Now we can get on with rehearsal. Oh, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Let's hold a rehearsal. Look, I did a silly thing by auditioning a lot of announcers, you know. It was just because I was angry. You know, it was my fault, too. And I held up the rehearsal. Let's call the rehearsal off. We'll do it tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Huh?
Well,
That's
Jack,
a wrap, everybody.
If you wish, I'll drive you home, Jack.
Will you, Don?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Hey, I could use a ride, too.
Well, come on along.
You can sit in the back seat with that half a cow. I'll ride with you. I'll ride with you.
Jack, it was certainly nice for you to ask us to come in and have a drink with you.
Oh, it was nothing. Hey, Donzie, how about having another drink? Huh?
No, thanks, Jack. I think I better run along.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Look at it. As long as you're here and you and I are friends again, why don't you stay for dinner? Come on. You too, Fred. Huh? We'll have a nice dinner.
Jack, I don't want to put you to all this trouble. You apologize. That's all that's necessary. And I just don't want to put you to all this trouble, Jack.
It's no trouble at all. Oh, Rochester.
Yes, Mr. Benny?
What have we got in the refrigerator?
Roast beef hash, turkey out king, and a cold sweater.
Well, look, we got 3 steaks in the freezer, so bring them out.
Fine, okay.
Yes, sir. That's what we'll do. We'll have steaks with the trimmings and everything.
Well, Jack, this is certainly wonderful of you to do this.
Ah, Don, it's nothing. Nothing at all. After all, look, it was my fault. The whole thing was my fault. You know, I had a big argument with you, and you were right, and I was wrong. And I was too stubborn to see it, you know. And as Rudyard Kipling once said, you have suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. And I intend to make it up
Jack,
to you.
Jack.
I intend to make it up to you.
Jack,
What?
Jack, Kipling didn't say that. It was Shakespeare.
No, Don, I just read it myself. Last night I was reading Rudyard Kipling was the one that said
Now,
it.
look, just a minute, Jack. I'm a college graduate, and I'm quite a student of Shakespeare, and I tell you, you're wrong.
Don. Phi beta fatso. I say it was Kipling.
And I say it was Shakespeare.
Don, I can't understand you. I cannot understand you at all. Here you come to my house. I apologized for last week, and you're all wrong. You start another argument.
I didn't start an argument. I'm just trying to tell you you're wrong, and you're too hard-headed to admit it.
Well, I am, eh? Well, all right, Don, this does it. You're through, you're finished, you're fired.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, and I'll thank you to leave the house and never darken my doorstep again. And, brother, you can darken it.
Okay, I'll go. Goodbye.
I never saw a guy like this Don Wilson. I mean, he always starts an argument. He's always wrong.
Jack, he wasn't wrong. He was right. You were wrong. Shakespeare did write that, not Kipling.
What are you talking about? It was Kipling. I say it was Shakespeare.
And I'm not going to stay here and argue with you either. You're too stubborn. Goodbye.
Mr. Benny? Dinner, sir.
Well, what are we going to do with the 2 extra steaks?
I only cooked one.
Why?
The moment I heard you say Kipling, I know this was going to happen.
Well, all right. Bring in the 1 steak. I'll eat it.
Boy, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for that book I read last night by Kipling.
The book you read last night was Shakespeare.
No, Rochester, on the cover, it said Kipling.
That's the man you borrowed it from, Sam Kipling.
For heaven's sakes. Now I'll have to apologize to Don again. Oh, well. I'll give him a steak and he'll be happy. Hello, Don. Don, this is Jack. I thought I ought to call you. Yes, Don, I know it's almost midnight. I know you were in bed all right, but look if you're standing there in your nightshirt, I'll make it fast. Now, this is what I want to say. You were right, and I was wrong. And to make it up to you, anytime you want to, come over here and I'll fix you the biggest steak you've ever had in all your life. With all the trimmings and mushrooms and potatoes and ice cream, and I think it's the least I can do for... Excuse me a minute, Don. There's someone at the door.
Here I am, Jack.
Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all enjoyed the show. That was pretty silly, wasn't it? I mean, imagine my firing anyone in my cast. Now, Don has been with me almost 30 years. Dennis Day, 25 years. Rochester has put in 22 years. You know, I feel like a warden. The reason I feel like a warden is because that when anyone leaves me, see, I usually give them a suit and $10. But didn't Don give a good performance? Hey, Donzie, come out here, will you? Don, you really did a good job on that show tonight.
Well, thanks, Jack. I really enjoyed doing this particular show.
You did, huh?
Yes, sir. After all, with the 6 rehearsals we had, I was served 6 steaks.
Right, you did get to eat 6 steaks, didn't you? Did you enjoy them?
Oh, I sure did. Thanks a lot, Jack.
You're welcome. I haven't the nerve to tell him that those steaks were made of plastic. Good night, folks. I'll be seeing you soon.
San Francisco.